The clinical social worker at Riggs really holds in mind, I think, and this is simplified, but two things. One is the patient in the external world. Other people keep this in mind, but I think social workers do it in a particular way. And the patient and their role in the family, and the family system as a whole. And so the social worker at Riggs really represents that perspective in a variety of ways. It's often through writing and the assessments that we generate. It may be in our monthly notes. It may also be in the way that we speak about the patient and represent them on team and at case conferences and in clinical staff meetings. When the social worker meets the patient for the first time, we are outlining the importance of doing a psychosocial history. And we do that with the patient in the first 6 weeks. And it's an opportunity to know the patient in terms of how they identify. And whether that's culturally, ethnically, whether that's sexuality-wise. It often is the case that patients are really grappling with issues of identity when they come to us around these very things. And so that may be exacerbating the particular struggles that they have. It's really important for the social worker to be able to represent that in the larger system. A day in the life of a social worker at Riggs often looks like a lot of one-on-one time with patients and families. A typical day for me may be doing some writing. Either I'm summarizing an experience I had with a patient or a family. I may be making a call to take a history. I might also be providing some consultation to a family member who's calling, really concerned about a patient, or who's in an argument with their loved one who's here for treatment, and trying to bring a clinical lens to that and offer a containing function to that family member. I'm also at staff meetings and treatment teams where we're really doing a lot of in-depth thinking about what's happening in the here and the now with the patient. I may be able to offer a perspective about what the patient's doing in the external world or in transitioning out to taking up their life. There may be a current stressor that's really getting exacerbated that may be impacting their behavior. There may also be something going on in the family system. And when something is occurring on team that may be actually an enactment of the family dynamics, I can then speak to that so that people know the lay of the land. Staff members have an understanding of what we're playing out. It's often good data for us, and then it allows us to perhaps do something differently together or know the patient and the family's experience more in depth. So in other roles, it's often been the case that I've had to discharge plan. And what that's involved is setting up numerous appointments without really any thought given to how the patient is experiencing the discharge, what their anxieties are, what they're concerned about, how the transition will be. And we know that often for people in the world and patients, there's a lot that gets evoked during a transition. And so doing dynamic casework has allowed me to take my clinical mind, a clinical perspective, and engage the patient around what particular anxieties they may be experiencing. Sometimes that's just to stay with the feeling and to bear witness to that. Sometimes we really work on creating a strategy around how to mitigate this particular anxiety or particular stressor in the transition. And we do this for families as well. Being in this role has allowed me to develop multiple alliances with family members. I've really enjoyed being able to develop one-on-one relationships with family during liaison contact. It's been an opportunity for me to exercise my clinical skills, provide consultation to the family about whatever dynamics may be arising, and to take that back into the family work. It's also allowed me to deepen my clinical practice and support patients with taking the dynamic inhibitors that they've experienced and creating adaptations around them in order to sustain and take up a productive, meaningful life.